Well, hello guys, it's Chris. From secret messages to some of the employees that you don't see, join me as I reveal to you 8 of the most disturbing Disney secrets and stories. Number 8. Hidden messages. One of the biggest controversies surrounding Disney and their films is that of the hidden messages that many claim are in their popular cartoons, but not just some of the films, like a large selection of them. Little Mermaid, Alice in Wonderland, The Lion King, Aladdin, and more are said to have hidden messages that were inserted by the animators and artists to have some fun, yet are actually rather disturbing when viewed by the wrong eyes. They can be pretty inappropriate. One of the most popular ones is from The Little Mermaid, where if you look at the castle of King Triton on the cover of the movie, you'll see an adult item as one of the pillars of the castle. Another classic one is in the movie Aladdin, during the scene where Prince Ali is trying to win over Jasmine. There's a sound clip that has someone saying, "Good little teens, take your clothes off." In The Lion King, the famous scene is of the dust blowing off the cliff that spells sex in the sky. And on it goes. To the extent that people will constantly do freeze frames and take still images of things in order to see if there's something else hidden in there. This story has even become a part of pop culture, with all sorts of people weighing in on it and trying to prove that Disney indeed had a more adult mind in their kids' movies. Or was it all just coincidence? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Number 7. Where's your mother? A classic movie trope that is meant to inspire the main character in one form or another is the plot device of losing a parent. But many have noted that in many Disney films, the mother of the character is nowhere to be found, or they die in the film. Ariel from The Little Mermaid, Belle from Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Bambi, Cinderella, and more don't have their mothers. And this is for a very simple reason. Walt Disney's mother died in a very sudden fashion, and everyone said that it affected him. Her name was Flora Called Disney, and unlike Disney's characters, she was present throughout much of his life. But then, not long after the success of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, she died. Walt had even bought her a house with the earnings that he had made from the film, but she barely got to live in it. One night, a leaky furnace poured gas into the house and it caused her to pass on. Disney and his studio tried to fix the furnace before she moved on, but clearly it didn't work. Because of this, Walt Disney blamed himself for his mother's death, and it was said that he suffered from severe depression, and his loss clearly affected many of the stories that he wrote and helped animate. Number 6. The price of using Disney. Disney is one of, if not the, biggest company in the world right now in terms of entertainment, especially after the purchases of Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, and the upcoming purchase of Fox. It's their right to protect their properties and IP from improper use. However, they take this to an extreme at times, including almost suing a daycare center. 3 of them, actually. What happened was 3 daycare nurseries in Florida were painting their walls with characters that the children would find appealing. Given the popularity of Disney at the time, they decided to paint Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and Goofy on the walls. This was found out by Disney, who immediately demanded that the pictures be taken down or replaced, else lawsuits be employed. Do you know how many kindergartens and daycare centers I've seen with Disney characters? Tons! If you're curious as to what basis the company had to make such an act, they're within their legal rights. The trademark for various Disney characters makes it so that unauthorized use of their characters in any kind of public setting, which the daycare center was, could be construed as violating the trademark. To make it more clear, because they were using the hand-drawn images of the characters to help promote their nursery, they were violating the trademark, as it might make people believe that the nursery was Disney approved. Disney is very watchful when it comes to their properties, to the extent that even in the modern days, certain internet shows will refuse to use certain Disney characters in any way out of fear of being sued by the House of Mouse. It's just a question of whether or not it's worth it for them to go after you, I guess. Number 5. Donald gets drafted. Easily one of the most dark stories of Disney's animated run is one tale that takes place in World War II, called Donald Gets Drafted. This particular story saw the famous duck decide to join the United States Army in the hopes of becoming a pilot. But he just becomes a soldier instead. Through a series of events, he ends up in a hole, and he truly believes that he's lost his legs. Donald is, needless to say, distraught about this and thinks that the only way to solve this problem is to take his commander's gun and to take his own life. What's worse is that his commander, in this case Pete, encourages him to do this, but asks that he wait until he leaves so he doesn't have to see it. Just as disturbing is the visual look of Donald Duck during the scene. He truly loses his mind, and the animators showed this in a very dark way. Thankfully, the story continued without the death of Donald Duck, but it was a very dark and harrowing look at PTSD in a time where such things weren't talked about, let alone shown in a Disney cartoon. Number 4. Disneyland's opening day. When you think of a Disney theme park, you likely think of people going on vacations and having the time of their lives, as it is the happiest place on earth. But when Disneyland opened back in July 17, 1955, it was anything but a happy time. The doomed opening of the event could be seen from a mile away, as Walt Disney wanted to open the park barely a year after construction of the place had begun. So when July 17, 1955 came around, not everything was finished. But Disney opened it anyways. Numerous rides weren't even operational, so they couldn't be put to use for the public. Tomorrowland was shut down because its construction wasn't finished. Going even further, many of the food stands and drink dispensaries didn't have enough to feed the massive crowds that had come to the event. Add this to the 100-degree temperatures that the park had on its opening day, and just about everyone who was there had a miserable time. Walt Disney himself apologized for the travesty of the opening and noted that it would take another month or so to get things to run smoothly. This event was dubbed Black Sunday. Yet obviously, this wasn't the end of Disneyland, but just a false start, if you will. Within 7 weeks, the park got 1 million visitors and is still one of the go-to destinations for families in the United States to this day. So no worries, I guess. Number 3. Racism in films. Disney movies are some of the most beautifully animated films ever, especially for their time, and the stories are just captivating. But that doesn't mean that they haven't gone over the line in the past. 2 of the biggest examples involve racism depictions in their films. The infamous movie Song of the South featured a man named Uncle Remus telling a story about a rabbit and a fox, and he sang the legendary song Zippity Doo-Dah, which actually got an Oscar for Best Song. That's pretty cool. But the movie itself was filled with all sorts of racist remarks about African Americans and their culture. Slavery actually isn't mentioned in the film despite it clearly being after, though some say before, the Civil War. Also, plantations were shown as good working places instead of the slave labor they were during the times. Plus, the situation between the whites and blacks of the era are shown to be very harmonious, which clearly was not. Though the film is etched in Disney for many reasons, including having a ride dedicated to it at several theme parks, it's not the most beloved Disney film, and it hasn't had a video or DVD release in nearly 40 years. But that's not the end of racism in Disney films. Not even close. In the beloved film Peter Pan, we meet the tribe of Tiger Lily, and every single Indian that is shown there has a red face, which is a stereotype of Native Americans from the European perspective. The tribe even sings a song called What Makes the Red Man Red. And during that song, the tribe repeatedly uses the word Injun, which is a racist insult to the tribes of the land. And don't even get people started on Pocahontas, or even worse, The Road to El Dorado. That whole movie is just totally inappropriate. Number 2. The rights of workers. If you go to Disney World or Disneyland or any other parks under the Disney name, you'll find yourself looking at some of your favorite characters brought to life via costumes and outfits. And of course, the workers themselves that help the park function. But the people under those costumes and outfits and uniforms have a somewhat dark history. You've likely all heard stories of people in those costumes getting too close to customers of the park, and that's just one layer of the story. Walt Disney was many things, but he was also a control freak when it came to what his employees could and couldn't do. For example, they couldn't have long facial hair unless they were portraying a character that needed such a thing. Disney also demanded a certain look of his employees in terms of hair and hair color, a rule that lasted well into the 2000s before being lightened up. In one very odd case, the employees of the park couldn't wear their own underwear. They had to wear park-approved ones, and that led to a slew of health problems for the employees. Eventually, the union for the workers got that situation sorted out, though. Number 1. Princess mental disorder. When it comes to Disney as a brand, one of the first things many people think about is the Disney princesses, who have been of many different kinds and races over the years. But what many people fail to notice at times is that many of them have a type of mental disorder that's just kind of glossed over. The most obvious one is Belle from Beauty and the Beast, as she clearly has Stockholm Syndrome, which means being a prisoner and then befriending your captor. Yet it was played off as true love. Ariel suffered from such a deep identity crisis that she was willing to literally rewrite her DNA via magic to be something else. Or how about Cinderella? She was in an abusive relationship with her family via her stepmother and stepsisters, and she willingly did just about everything they wanted, which is now referred to as the Cinderella complex, no joke. While not all the Disney princesses had these issues, some of them are quite obvious when you know where to look. It's not so great for creating powerful female role models. Although more recently, we have seen a shift with more independent and healthy girls, such as Moana and Merida from Brave. But if you really want to get picky, you can. Well, thanks for watching, guys. What did you think of these dark Disney secrets and stories? Do you know another dark secret about Disney or their works that needs to be told? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.